Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 89 of the Clutch Dump. We are just about 11 episodes away from the 100 mark, which will be a huge milestone, and I'm sure I could convince Ben to partake in the Coors banquet with me on that occasion.
That could happen.
That all being said, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into this week's content, make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Clutch Dump. Make sure also to follow us right here on YouTube. Subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and like the video. Share with your friends if you think they might find it interesting or you just want to harass them with some weird content. Also, make sure to follow us on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to on. I know some of my coworkers are on Spotify. If you're listening, this is for you. But make sure to rate the show, rate the episode, and also share it with your friends, whether it's on Snap, Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, whatever. Just share it and tag us on those platforms. Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Pandora, Stitcher, you name it, we're on there. And we are going to get started. Ben, we have a couple episodes until Christmas. And I feel like we should probably do something Christmas themed. Unfortunately, though, the Porsche White Collection already sold, which would have been a perfect holiday theme.
Would have been nice. We could have done a whole white Christmas thing.
We could have. But what do you want to start with for this episode?
Oh, with this episode, well, we do have a two-car garage, to be fair.
Yes.
Would you like to start there? For it was your idea in episode 88, 7, 6,
no, earlier, yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, something like that?
Yep, exactly.
Go ahead, our two-car garage.
This week's two-car garage. You have to pick two cars. One has to be practical, i.e. a normal non-race car.
A normal people car.
And one has to be a weekend car. That could be a fun track toy. That could be a two-seater Spider or Cabriolet.
Does mine even have two seats?
On the weekend with the mates. Well, it doesn't have to be. With the mates or with your wife or your girlfriend.
Nope, we got one seat, boys.
Here's the kicker. They have to have been driven by race car drivers. So there's no budget, but you have to find a car that was owned, driven. It doesn't have to be driven by race car drivers in period, but the car needs to have been driven by racing drivers. So that, for example,
this specific one that we found?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that part.
Not just the general model, Ben.
Oh, Nick, okay, for starters, you should know this.
I will go first, and you can find... I'm going to keep it explaining to the folks, to the people.
Please, because it's going to take me years.
So, for example, this could be Steve McQueen's 911, the 930 Turbo. It wasn't raced by Steve McQueen, but Steve McQueen was a racing driver, and he drove that car. Another example could be Joe Siffert's 911E, or S rather, that I would love to have one day. With that said, let me take a sip of my Coors because I'm already parched, and we shall begin momentarily.
See, the problem with this, I don't care about racing drivers is the problem.
Yeah,
is they're the least interesting part about racing. They're the most important part, but to me, they're the least interesting part. So,
you heard it here first, folks.
The way that I did this was I thought of a car that I wanted to pick, and then just found a racing driver that had one and was like, yep, that's who I picked. And then that was it.
Racing driver that had one. So what do you mean?
I found a car.
Right.
And then I was like, cool, this is a car. What racing driver at some point in time also had one of these?
Right.
That is what I did.
Okay. Yeah. No, you did not understand the rules of the assignment. But if you're not ready by the time I'm done, we can just go with what you got. And next time,
Nick, I don't think I'll be ready by the end of the year. Go ahead.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have my two vehicles. Should I start with the weekend car, Ben, or should I start with the responsible car?
I would start with the responsible car.
Oh, this is the one I like actually more out of the two. This car is a 1986 Mercedes-Benz 500 SEC Koenig. And Lord help me, this car is sensational. Only sold for 30,000 euros. It has the original V8. Got that thick, comfy leather interior. This car is just stunning. It's gorgeous. It's boxy. It's 80s. It's off-brand, but legit. There's so much goodness that I can't even good. Moving on to the weekend car. we're moving back in time. Over 20 years at that. Damn, this is a good course. We have, and this one sold for a little bit more. This one sold for nearly 700,000 euros. This is a 1964 Porsche 904 GTS. Stunning car, obviously 2 seats, fiberglass, beautiful car. One of the first mid-engined, track-oriented Porsche. I guess no, 718 was rear engine, 550 was rear engine, right? Technically, it was the 550 mid-engine.
Ooh, I think 550 was
The
mid-engined.
first mid-engined coupe / prototype, whatever you want to call it.
That
Porsche made for racing. 550 mid-engined.
The first Porsche was mid-engined, but we'll ignore that.
What do you mean by the first Porsche?
The first Porsche ever to have that badge on it was
that's
mid-engined.
Okay, well, sorry, guy, because the first
I'm just saying.
That all being said, listen, it's a 904 GTS. It's beautiful. It's sexy. It's elegant, and it was a race-winning Porsche with all the pedigree you'd expect. And in case you're wondering, both of those came out of a collection of a prototype driver that was French from the 60s and 70s, and so I kind of double-dipped. But it was owned by a racing driver, and he drove both of them. So there you go. That is my two-car garage.
I left my phone on, and I'm a horrible person for it. Let me correct that real quick. My apologies. Also, yes, 550 was mid-engined, in case you were wondering. As was the 718 and the 904. But the 550 is regarded as the first normal, mid-engined Porsche, just for the clarification. Well, I didn't find any cars, also because I stopped looking after about 5 seconds. But can we talk about something that I found rather interesting? So for starters, what I did was I just picked a car that I really liked, and then I was like, yeah, I'll just find a racing driver who...
Garage is supposed to work, man.
Nick, you didn't explain this.
I said driven by a race car driver. Race car driver puts his butt in a seat and drives a car. That car is eligible.
Well, several people have driven 944 Turbo Cups. That doesn't mean they drove your 944 Turbo Cup. That's how I interpreted that.
See,
your 944 Turbo Cup is the same as any other 944 Turbo Cup.
But it's not.
No, it's not, and I'm not saying that it is, but that's how I interpreted it. Anyway, what I did find...
You so deserve a piece of bootleg Def 1 merch I bought you.
I'm just going to throw it away as soon as it gets here, sold for $100,000 at an RM Sotheby's auction in... When did this sell? This sold at some point in time. A 1965 Lotus Cortina Mark I Estate.
Brother. Whoa, I just nearly fell backwards.
We almost had our first death on the podcast. Someone took a Mark I Cortina wagon and made a Lotus out of it.
Really taking my previous two-car garage picks minus a little fabrication.
Yeah, I was looking for a normal Cortina, and I came across this, and this is officially the coolest car ever built. Because the car has been fully restored and is piece for piece accurate to a Lotus Mark I Cortina, but it happens to be a wagon, and it's super cool, and I think that should be your dad wagon, is a Lotus Mark I Estate.
Car?
Oh, the weekend car was a D-Type, because, yeah, it's a D-Type, because D-Types are the prettiest cars ever made. Anyway, I'm sorry that I have ruined Two-Car Garage this week, Nick. I was unaware.
Take it up to me next week with your two-car garage prompt.
I'll give you a great Two-Car Garage prompt next week. Nick, would you like to talk about a fellow who is supposedly named Scott Goodyear?
I would love to talk about a fellow. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to spend 3 days with Scott Goodyear. He signed my helmet. It's yonder. Normally, my helmet would not be on top of a printer, but for this episode, it is.
It is.
Yeah, you would have to be on YouTube to know what I'm talking about. However, if you're unfamiliar somehow with who Scott Goodyear is, Ben, Scott Goodyear holds the record for the closest finish in Indianapolis 500 history, finishing second behind Al Unser Jr. He's finished second in the Indy 500 twice. I believe It was either 8 or 13, or maybe 11. It was 8, 11, or 13-time IndyCar winner. He was the first champion for Pfaff Motorsports. You know your favorite plaid Porsche? Well, he won them their first championship in 1988 in the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup. Yes, the same as the one that I've driven. Not the same series, damn it. He also drove...
See how this can be confusing?
He also drove my exact car in 1989 when it was the Diet 7-Up guest car. He drove, as a result of winning the 88 Turbo Cup Championship, he drove the Porsche 956 at Le Mans with the factory Rothmans team. He competed in IMSA and Firehawk GT. He competed at the Daytona 24-hour as a factory Jaguar driver in the Bud Light liveried Group C car. He was also a factory driver for the headquarters of Audi. I don't remember in what series, whether it was GTO or otherwise, but he drove as a factory Audi driver. He has done a little of everything. And I got to hang out with him this weekend because the Formula 4 series that you're familiar with in Europe and in North America that runs with SVRA and SCCA and everything else, they came with 4 handpicked drivers who are currently go-karters, and they got to partake in a scholarship program where they got basically hands-on experience training in a Formula 4 car. And the 4 drivers were nominated from Newcastle Motorsports Park, Ron Fellow's karting program. One of the karters was actually picked by Will Power himself and was sent to the school. Another IndyCar legend. So we'll have some at some point, because I got the content with the school. We'll have some cool content coming your way. I have some behind-the-scenes photos of filming interviews with Scott Goodyear. Super down to earth, super cool, and it's really it's surreal when you get to meet a pro driver and talk to them about races and stuff that you remember watching. But when you have kind of unbridled access for 3 days straight, like when you come into the office with your Starbucks, you're like, "Hey, good morning, Scott." And he's like, "Hey, good morning, Nick." And, you know, you're walking in and it's like, okay, Scott Goodyear's just like, he's just chilling.
And he just becomes a normal person. It's very strange.
Yeah, Scott Goodyear was like asking for a ride to one of the different tracks on the property. So I was driving a Charger wide body red eye. Ugh, gorgeous. And he hopped in, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, I am driving Scott Goodyear. Like, sure, I'm seeing him around. But literally look up, and Ben, you'll need to do this after the episode. On Champ Car on Twitter, they were going through and trying to select the best moment in Indy 500 history by fan votes. And one of the moments that made it into the running was when Scott Goodyear lost by 0.043 thousandths of a second behind Alan Jr., where the final 2 laps, he's inching closer and closer and closer. And coming out of the final corner, he's in the draft. He pulls out from the draft, gets up next to him, and barely loses. But it's crazy because I literally saw that clip on Twitter earlier that day, and then Scott shows up, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, he also, you're
the guy.
Yeah, you're the dude. You did the thing. He was in the Budweiser-sponsored Indy car.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. So, anyways, got to hang out with him. We'll have photos and stuff coming. He was super cool, super down to earth. I got a signed helmet and a signed Pfaff model out of it. If the Turbo Cup was down here, I would have done a whole cool like reuniting thing.
Oh, there would have been a whole thing.
Yeah, but it's fine.
God, Indy,
you $200,000 cars. I don't know what's up with that, but here we are.
Ain't that just the worst? Also, real quick tangent, just because I just googled Scott Goodyear IndyCar. Yeah. Man, IndyCars used to be so much prettier. He used to look so good. So, by the way, if you look up, there will be a picture up here for the YouTube people. But if you just look up Scott Goodyear IndyCar, it comes up with his number 15 Mackenzie liveried Chevrolet. Silver and blue car. It's just so simple, and they used to be so small. Yeah, it was a better time, and the Budweiser cars.
Now, let's be fair. The current Indy cars
look fantastic.
They look
great.
So much better than basically everything else from the 2000s.
I think they are the best looking open wheel car at the moment.
Oh, without a doubt. Also, he drove a Pennzoil liveried car.
The Pennzoil liveried car is good, and the Budweiser liveried car is very good. All of his liveries look quite good. This is what I was having this conversation with people today about, like, man, where did good liveries go? What was the last, like, what was the last iconic livery that was on?
You want to know what killed liveries?
Sponsorships in the internet?
No, two things.
Yes.
One, the outlawing of advertising alcohol and tobacco. That's number one.
That is what we came up with, yes.
Hoffman's, Camel, Marlboro, Budweiser, all that stuff.
555 cigarettes on Subarus.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, the second part of it is the fact that most teams now are privateer, and then they run in one series, in the sense that with Porsche running factory efforts in the 80s, you could have Rothman sponsorship on Rally Car if they had a Formula team, Formula, Group C, whatever.
Yep.
So I will say, Ben, here's the other thing: it has to have longevity. It can't just be a year-by-year thing. I think the last great, iconic livery, and no, people, Ferrari does not count because it's all red. It's just red. Okay, it does not count.
Yeah.
Stop. Is the Chrome Vodafone McLarens.
I think Chrome Vodafone McLarens are very good, which we will talk about one of those.
McLarens. Vodafone had it on V8 Supercars. They had it on Formula 1.
Oh, I forgot about the supercars.
Which was better than the F1 cars in terms
very
of...
Very good.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think what really does it, actually, as far as great liveries, is there is one main sponsor on all of them. If you think of all the great liveries, if you think of Martini liveries, Rothmans, yeah, there is a title sponsor, and the entire car is done up after that specific company. And that's just not a thing anymore. So we were talking specifically about MotoGP bikes, and I was like, yeah, I think like the Petronas Yamaha bike was like the last really good one. And the Suzukis were good because they were pretty Suzuki, but like they really haven't been good since like the mid 2000s.
Disagree. I think the current Ducati livery is one of the sexiest we've ever had. Like Lenovo sponsored Ducati is...
It's very good, but when you look at it, they're so busy. Whereas if you look at like a Vodafone, McLaren, Mercedes, there's a bit less going on.
I know what you're talking about, Ben. You're saying we need simpler liveries. And talk about a mother frickin' segue. How about that Trackhouse Aprilia livery?
New Aprilia. So, if you've heard us talk about MotoGP before, you've probably heard us mention RNF Aprilia. So RNF Aprilia is the satellite team for Aprilia. There's the factory team, and then there's the satellite team. And RNF left Yamaha. There's no longer a satellite Yamaha team. There's now a satellite Aprilia team. RNF Crypto Data is leaving Aprilia and is being replaced by Trackhouse. Yes, the NASCAR Trackhouse.
Although, Justin Marks said, don't think of this as a NASCAR team going MotoGP racing. It's Trackhouse Entertainment trying to find the best motorsport venues in the world and get into it. So,
yes,
I can see the distinction. Obviously, all we know of is Trackhouse and NASCAR. And they've been really good off the bat. And now they're taking a very solid foundation with Aprilia. And
right, and the good thing about what they're doing with Aprilia is Trackhouse doesn't actually have to bring any knowledge to MotoGP. They don't have to do anything.
Sponsorship dollars.
Like all they're doing is spending money. Like they're showing up to a team that's already done. You know, they haven't podiumed, but I think Raul Fernandez finished 5th in the last race of the season this year. So, you know, they've got a really solid ground. But they released it with this show bike livery, which sadly will not be on the bike when it races.
It won't?
No, it will be, but it's going to be what we just talked about. It's going to be covered in sponsors.
Well, that's okay, as long as it starts in stripes. Boy.
So it's really cool. It's a really sick Nicky Hayden tribute livery.
So when he tested on Ducati.
Yeah, super sick livery. Looks fantastic. Everyone's very hyped about it. There's a lot of funny memes going on about everyone being like, what the heck is a kilometer? And then it's like, and then it was like memes about it being an Italian motorcycle. It's a whole funny thing. I think it looks...
Why don't they just, they should totally just, make a, Harley and then put sport bike, because that, okay, people, come on.
Yeah, Americans can't build motorcycles. I'm very sorry.
Do something that's not American.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked for Trackhouse to be in there. It's good to see a bunch of money going into MotoGP, because as a MotoGP fan, we're always concerned about Formula One taking over.
Hopefully, American fans too get ported over.
And hopefully American fans, yeah, hopefully we can get some Americans to watch Two Wheeled Racing, which would be nice. So thank you, Nick, for mentioning that. I completely forgot about that. I didn't forget about it, but it wasn't in the notes.
No, it's fine. It's not like
Nick,
I sent you for a reason.
I also had like 2-hour-long conversations about it today, but I've, eaten since then, so I've forgotten. Nick, we had an abundance of auctions happen recently, and by recently I mean in the past 2 or 3 weeks. 3 to be exact. I'm assuming you'd like to start with the one that's strictly Porsches.
I'm not even gonna lie. I don't really care that much about it, but considering that we talked about it and then we told the people that when the auction was done, we talked about it.
Did you look at the numbers?
All I saw was the 918 number, and that was enough for me to be like...
All of the numbers were bigger than they should have been, pretty much.
Also, unrelated but sort of related. The 918 broke the record for the most expensive 918 on to date.
Yes, which I don't get, but yes.
4 Mexico Blue 918s that are now coming up for auction with like 300 miles, so I anticipate that record will be broken again.
So if you haven't picked up on what we're talking about, we are talking about the white collection, the Houston Porsche collection that is loosely white Porsches.
White, creamy, colorful. Yes, continue.
We're going to leave that there. But basically I think it was like 65 Porsches that went up for auction. I think when I talked about it, we picked some favorites. And
garage that Ben was actually able to figure out.
Yeah, I figured that one was much less complicated. Pick 2 cars. That was it. So we went over, we kind of did a preview, looked at some cars that we thought were going to do really well. And they sold. And some things really surprised me. Some things really didn't. And things that didn't surprise me, 1978 911 SC Martini Championship Edition sold $128,000.
That's a good price.
That seems low for a special edition
G-body.
Late 70s G-body. Something else that I'm curious to get your opinion on, which I can't tell if it's low or high. In my opinion, it's way too high, but I do know what it is, so it seems kind of appropriate. There was a white 1987 944 Turbo Cup that sold. Did you see what it sold for?
Not see.
What do you think it sold for, Nick? A non-liveried all-white 944 Turbo Cup.
Here's the thing. An all-red non-liveried 944 that never won or got a podium in Rothman's Turbo Cup up in Canada. Just sold for $198,000.
Okay.
So I'm going to guess this one went for about $200,000.
You would be way high. This car sold for $162,400.
Okay, that's about what I would expect it to go.
Which seems kind of where it's supposed to be. If you don't know what it is, it looks like a stupid amount of money because everyone's like $162,000 for an RX-7. What are you doing? But for a Turbo Cup, that's about right. So that was pretty cool. And then obviously the big shock to everyone was the 2015 918 Weissach Spider that sold for $3,937,500, nearly $4 million for a 918 Spider.
Stupid money. Like not just the money. Porsche people, let's have a sit down, okay?
Yeah. Bring it in. Huddle up.
So for $3 million, you could buy
No. $4 million.
I'm sorry. $4 million.
Yeah.
$4 million you could buy 4 GT2 RSs and also
literally anything else you wanted.
Also at the same time in the same auction, 2 original 3-liter RSRs.
Yeah. A lot of other stuff. Like
you could buy an original AJ Foyt IROC RSR.
Yeah, literally go buy any air-cooled 911 you want that isn't... You can buy a 935 for that, right?
What?
$4 million.
You could
You're
buy you could
you're
buy
buying the nicest 935 for $4 million, aren't
you
you?
could buy a non-historically significant 935, I'm sure, for like $750,000.
Right, like a normal privateer one, not one of the big name ones.
Right.
So by the way, something that I should have mentioned before this started. I went through before the show started and added up the cost of all of the vehicles that sold. There was a bunch of furniture and memorabilia, knickknacks, and that kind of stuff that was in there as well. I did not add all that up. But all of the cars sold for $29,419,320.
So, Ben, how many Porsches did you say sold? It was 65?
I think it was like 50 or 60, yeah.
So you're telling me the 918 Spider, because it's in white, was
Yep.
a tenth of the total sales
Yep.
with 60 some odd Porsches, not just 911s, Porsches.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, and here's the thing.
Stupid.
You've seen a 918 before.
Yes.
Okay, gorgeous car. I've seen two before. Fantastic. One of them in white, in fact. The first one I ever saw was white.
Man, that was a $4 million car.
Apparently. I didn't know that. But I saw a white 918. Gorgeous car. Also, it's like, what most people don't realize is it's like the size of a Boxster. It's tiny. Gorgeous car. I think they're super cool. I don't think they're $4 million cool.
Yeah, let me ask you.
Maybe, I don't know.
Ben, let me ask you.
Mm-hmm.
959 lightweight or 918 Spider? Go.
Oh, it's $4 million. 959 lightweight. It's a bargain. They're throwing those things away compared to 918s. So another car that kind of surprised me, which seems, well, in company of a 918, kind of low. 1996 911 Carrera RS. So that is a 993 generation Carrera RS 911, sold for $555,000. I can't tell because we don't see these rare special edition 993s come up too often. So I think that was quite good. Other things that surprised me. Actually, this one isn't super surprising. 73 911 Carrera RS 2.7 lightweight. White, red accents. Nick, Patty, what do you think it went for?
What was it again?
73 Carrera RS 2.7 lightweight.
Oh.
White, red accents.
It should be. I don't know because these like fluctuate so much. What, 600 grand?
Oh, you were a third of the way there, my friend. $1,875,000.
As if, bro.
So this is what this auction has told me is like, if I want to get an air-cooled 911, I have to buy one yesterday or I will never get one.
You know what I don't understand, man? I am about as much as an old school Porsche person as you can get. Like,
yes,
I am old Porsches are better simply because they're old. Yes, like it has nothing to do with the fact of their actual quality.
Mm-hmm.
But God, for that much money, I'll just bump it up a little and take a 918. Like, I would never,
that's it. Just double it and give me a 918.
But that's 1.8 on a Carrera RS. You have the money to just say, screw it, I'm getting the 918. And at that point, why wouldn't you? Like,
well, and Nick, here's the thing. This is actually pretty interesting because we got to see direct market comparison. So that was a 73 RS 2.7 lightweight. There was a 73 RS 2.7 touring, white, blue accents, $989,000.
So for half the price,
half the money, you can get a touring as opposed to a lightweight.
So if you spend simply nearly $1 million more, you can save about 150 pounds. Otherwise, it's identical.
Is the difference if the difference is just back seats? Just take the back.
It's like thinner glass stuff like that. But it's
dude, take the passenger seat out of your touring. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
and that touring sold. The car that surprised me more than anything, if there is any Porsche that does not deserve to be six figures,
oh no,
it's an 87 928 S4.
Back the hell off! You step off.
Nick, it was $112,000 for a 928
S4. And what year was it?
87.
One of the final years of production.
Okay, but It's the ugliest two-door Porsche ever made.
That's not even close to true.
What two-door Porsche is uglier?
924. End of story.
That's kind of true. All right. It's the second ugliest two-door Porsche.
Listen, and I love what I'm about to say,
I don't, whatever it is.
but a 914 is not as good looking as a 928. I'm sorry.
A 914 is not a good-looking car.
Okay, so then what? Where do you get off?
But Nick, okay, here's the thing.
L-take, Ben. It's an L-take. Just admit it.
A Carrera RS, many people have admitted, is the best air-cooled driving experience. Which may be true. Like a 73 Carrera RS.
Okay.
People have said that is the best air-cooled driving experience. Which I'll never know, because they cost $2 million, and who's going to give me a $2 million car? But apparently, okay, so the best costs $2 million. Here's the thing. There is no 928 on the planet that is a $120,000 driving experience. There's just not.
You're not even right. You're not even close to right.
Nick, what are you talking about?
If you were to ask me, Nick, what 90s Porsche would you want over a 91 928 GTS, there's maybe three.
Okay.
Streetcar.
Okay.
There is three.
Okay, and they are
964 RS, 996 RS,
yes,
and then 996 GT3 Club Sport.
Okay. What other Porsches did they make at that time? 944?
Any of the other 911 trims, 944 S2. I would take over a 993 or 964 Turbo. I would take a 928 GTS. And I know that's probably an L take to most, but you don't see that many 928s. They are
for a good. You don't see that many Yugos, Nick. Okay,
there's a twisted group of people that want them.
It's the same twisted group of people who want 928 S4s, apparently.
Yeah, but I'm also the guy that would want to stage you over a real Skyline GTR. So
I do too. I mean,
okay,
GTRs
so
aren't
not that different, Ben.
Except I wouldn't spend 112. Nick, I wouldn't spend 12 grand on a 928.
Ben. A regular Carrera 2 964 goes for more, and you're saying a base?
Yes.
That is crazy talk.
Yes.
You would take a 964 C2. You would take a base 993 over a 928 GTS.
Here's my question.
Oh, you have to answer my question, Ben.
Go ahead.
I've already asked it. You would take a 964 C2 or a base 993 over 928 GTS.
Without question.
You are unequivocally, unparalleled, off your goddamn rocker.
Yeah.
You need to go to the retirement home. You're already there.
Nick.
No.
Here's my... Okay.
There is none.
No.
Don't say there's your point. There is none.
928s are transaxle cars, correct?
Yes.
5-speed or 6-speed?
5.
They gotta be 6. 5?
Well, okay, I don't know about a 91, but I know that the previous ones were 5 speeds.
Okay, well, this is an 87, so it's going to be, it's going to be an early car.
Well, no, because an early car was like a 77 928, so...
They're making 928s in the 70s?
Yeah, they're not nearly as good looking.
What? I gotta back check this right now, folks.
Go for it.
Porsche
77.
77 to 95. Wow, that car lasted... What's that? 17 years longer than it needed to? Anyway.
You can... Oh my goodness.
So, Nick, here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's a transaxle car with a V8 in the front. Okay, it's $112,000. Is it 6 times as good as a C5 Z06? 6 times as good. Because that's what it costs.
Even the comparison.
It's V8 front engine, rear drive transaxle cars.
Ben. Here's a comparison for you. Is a 69 376 SS Camaro worth comparable to a 928 GTS? No, not even close.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd pay way more for a Camaro than I would a 928 GTS.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Lord.
Yeah.
How can you
It's
rationalize that?
because a 928 is just an ugly Corvette. That's all it is. It's an ugly Corvette with a bad Audi motor in it. That's what it is.
Oh, you're so wrong. You
No,
you think a
it is an Audi motor in it. It has an Audi motor.
You think a 928 is worse looking than a C4 Corvette?
C5.
Its competitor. No, but
Oh,
it's not.
C4? I think it doesn't look as good as a ZR1. I think ZR1s look quite good. Base cars are quite lame, but ZR1s are quite good.
So this is head to head. You're on a track. Someone hands you the keys. C4 ZR1 928 GTS. I already know your answer, so I don't even know why I asked.
C4 ZR1 without question. Without question.
No hope.
Did you not?
Listen, I will make career decisions to put me in a place where I can get a 928 GTS. If you will make career decisions where you can get a C4 ZR1, and I pray for the day where we can both be on track, and you see a 928 accelerate past you in a C4 ZR1.
I've driven a C4 ZR1. Okay.
I could not care.
I've driven a C4 ZR1. I've driven a C5 Corvette. I was far more impressed by that C4 ZR1 than I was that C5 Corvette. Listen,
I'm not dissing it. It's a great car. You have a criminal lack of underappreciation for the 928.
Maybe I do. It might be, hot take here. It might be the only Porsche that I don't like. It might be the only one.
That can't even be close to correct.
That and the early Panameras are the only two that I don't like, and it's because they look the same.
You're telling me. God, here's how I'm bringing a trailer. Sold for $74,000. It's a 95 928 GTS 5-speed with original factory option speed lines. It's gorgeous.
Yes, and I get that there's some provenance to it, but like, it's such a bad looking car. No, the Nardone one looks great.
How do you think? What do you think is bad looking about it?
Oh, I mean,
don't say if all of it.
Fine, I'll just list everything. I think that the rear of it looks rather frumpy. I've never been a fan of that style of pop-up headlights. I like pop-up headlights.
Well, yeah, I knew you didn't like the 968, actually.
I do like the 968. I think the 968 is a great-looking car.
How do you like the 968 but not the 928?
They look very different. And I think the nose looks very weird and bland. I think it looks very...
And your nose looks weird and bland, damn it!
Yep. Anyway, 928 S4, $112,000. That just surprised me. 97 911 GT2. Nick, calm down. Relax, we're coming back to the 911s. 97 911 GT2. The pinnacle of 993s. What does it cost?
Was it one of the factory track cars or a street?
Ooh, let me scroll real quick. We are scrolling. One of just 17 examples reportedly delivered new to Japan. Finished in stunning glacier white, 430 horsepower.
I'm gonna go with. Are you ready? 850.
Nick, what is this? 1997, $2,397,500. This is why I want to talk about the white collection. There's some things.
Let me ask you. Do you think that car is 25 times the driving experience of a 928 S4?
No, I don't. I absolutely do not. I don't think that car is 4 times the driving experience of a regular 97 911.
Now I think you're wrong.
4 times. The steering is 4 times as good. The brakes are 4 times as good. The chassis is 4 times as good.
Turbos.
The engine is 4 times as
good.
4 times. All right. Anyway, well, Nick, we should decide it. You should get a 97 GT2. I'll get a base 97 car, and then we'll do a head-to-head.
Yeah, I prefer the C4 928 head-to-head, but that's
We'll start there, and then season 2.
You know what? No. I'm settling this now. 928 GTS versus C4 ZR1. What does Yahoo say?
Oh, we're trusting Yahoo? Yahoo is your source on this?
Have you noticed though? I'm in Chrome, and when I go to search, it says Yahoo.
Arizona's a strange place.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm
Um,
gonna. You talk about other things.
there was a 93 911 Carrera RSR 3.8 white with red interior sold for $2,073,000. Nick, do you have stuff? No, we're not there yet.
No, not yet.
2011 911 GT3 RS sold for 412 grand. I think that's a solid buy. 2011 GT3 RS, 412 grand. I think that's fantastic. And then the 356 that I put as one of my two car garages sold for $566,000. 92 911 Carrera RS, 390 grand. Let's see here. 911R, 2016 911R, white with blue stripes, $1.1 million. 2008 911 GT2. Peak 997. 2008 911 GT2, 417 grand. I think that's a great buy for whoever did that. A 94 911 Turbo S with an X85 flat nose package sold for $1.4 million. There's an 87 or an 89 911 Turbo that sold for $384. Let's see here. 2019 911 GT2 RS Visoc package sold for $1 million for a new GT2 RS. I think that is.
Man.
Have I done myself in on this one?
According to carmagazine.co.uk, they did a side by side in 1989 between two cars.
Mm-hmm.
And the ZR1 is faster in a straight line, and the 0 to 60, 0 to 100, 0 to 150. Here's the final paragraph. On aggregate, the Porsche wins, but it's a close victory. If you're not prepared to work the 928 GT hard, the ZR1 is easier to drive fast. It is let down by excessively defensive handling, by the extremely long-legged gearbox, and by its teeth-rattling ride. Which is why they said... Which is why this comparison may well, in a year's time, yield a new number one. But they, in 1989, said... And not even the GTS, just the 928 GT.
Mm-hmm.
So... Yeah, I hate to break it to you. And that it is a long-ass story.
All right. I will go read that later. I have that pulled up. Back to our white collection. 2010 911 Sport Classic, $643,000. 914.6, 89 grand. Still possible.
That's a steal.
That's a good buy, I think. That one was well purchased. And I think that really does it for all of the... we've got another page here that I missed. 97 911 Turbo S, 863 grand. 2004 911...
Oh, there it is. You're playing a prank. A 993 Turbo S for
863.
Okay, I'm about to say something that people are going to be like, man, maybe you are a Chevy guy. Just buy a regular 911 and turbo it.
When you could have...
Ridiculous here.
When you could have bought an 04 GT2 for $400.
Oh, I'll buy one for me and my wife, and we can go do track weekends while you sit with your thumb up your, your 993.
2021 Targa 4S Heritage Design Edition.
Which I love.
Take a gander. How much you think? What are we talking here?
I'm going to say lower than I would think normally.
Okay.
300.
511.
I don't even know if that's close, but...
I don't know what it is, but it's 511 grand for a Targa 4S. 76 911 Turbo Carrera 390.
Good deal.
75 Carrera 2.7 with mechanical fuel injection, 368 grand. Cheapest car of the auction was a 1990 944 S2 Cabriolet, sold for $39,200. Which for a clean S2 cab, that makes sense. That's what they cost. Trying to think here, was there anything else that really surprised me? Oh, here we go. 97 Carrera Targa. Your standard 97 993 Carrera Targa, 168 grand.
What the hell?
997 or 993s just cost money.
Listen.
Sorry.
And listen,
I'm
I think I will never turn my back on Porsche,
This is ridiculous.
but these people, man,
This
they
is
are
rid-
on something.
Dude, so many of these numbers are so much bigger than than they should be. I'm
You,
sorry. I lied.
you could buy a 944, 914, and then to buy the next most expensive car, you could have instead one of Dale's actual cars. Like,
True. Built worse than anything else in this auction, but
also
still.
faster than most.
Also faster than most things in here.
In
I
one
lied.
quarter.
That 944 cab was not the cheapest Porsche in this auction, because that award goes to a 77 924 Martini Championship Edition.
How much?
29 grand.
That's steep, even for the Martini Edition ones.
I think for a Martini Edition, that has to be pushing on the door of the most expensive non-turbo 924. Non-turbo, non-Carrera GTS GTR.
924 turboed? I think it was.
What's up?
The 924 Carrera GT, I think, was turboed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the most expensive naturally aspirated 924 might be that. And that might be too much money.
Although, if any car is going to break that record, it's the one we saw at Coda Radwood. The one owner.
Oh, yes.
Round, low mileage turbo.
Yes, that was such a clean car.
Yeah.
Nick, did you look at any of the other two auctions that happened recently?
I think I did. The only result I saw was Lewis Hamilton's 2013 Mercedes sold for like $13 million or something.
So that sold for $13 million, and that
is a 918 in white 1/3 the driving experience of Lewis Hamilton.
Well,
Mercedes
Mr. Patty, since that Formula One car did not have a motor in it, yes.
It didn't.
No, most Formula One cars sold don't have motors in them.
It sold for $13 million for the freaking chassis.
Yes, and you know what is such a better deal than that? What happened at the on-the-grid auction at the Bonham's car auction, which was at the final race of the Formula One season, and their most expensive car was a 2006 ex-Kimi Räikkönen McLaren Mercedes MP421. Such a good livery. $2.7 million. That seems like such a better deal than... Okay, granted.
What are these people on, dude? What are people so weird?
I get it. Lewis Hamilton, sadly,
Ben.
will forever be more famous than Kimi Räikkönen.
Ben. You could have. So, I'm trying to do the math here.
Yes.
So, these each represent $2 million.
Yes.
For these, you could have 918 Spider. Or Kimi Räikkönen Formula One car. 918 Spider? Formula One car.
Yep.
Form 918? Formula One.
Yep.
Form.
Yep. And it's the really good McLaren Mercedes livery. So that was the most expensive car that they had there. Other things behind it: 93 911 964 Carrera RSR 3.8 Strassen version. The pinnacle.
Let me guess. 3.8 million.
Too high, 2.1. Still almost set a record for 964s. So, you know what? Behind it, no, Nick, we're going to play a fun game. 2015 Porsche 918 Spider, non-Weissach car in black. What did it cost?
900 grand.
1.6.
Dude, does it... Well, I was going to say, does it feel weird to you? This just doesn't apply. It's weird hearing these numbers and then being like, oh, my dad owned... Yeah, and then my... Oh, and then my...
Oh. We were just 15 years too early on those, weren't we?
Too bad we don't still have them.
2014 McLaren P1 sold for 1.2. Here's a car that I'm conflicted about. Because I wanted one for so long, and I still might, but now that I know what they are, I'm less interested in them.
Okay.
Mercedes McLaren SLR. Looks cool. That's about it. I think is my opinion on the McLaren SLR. This is a 722 edition, sold for $851,000.
Cheaper than I thought it would go for.
There was a Maybach that sold for too much money, a new SF90. Mercy SV sold for $483,000. Good for whoever bought that. It's a pretty good deal for a real SV. Nick, the pinnacle of 997s. 2011 997 GT3 RS 4-liter.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the GT2, but okay.
What do you think it went for?
These, for some reason, have stupid provenance, and I cannot figure it out for the life of me. 2.2?
460 grand.
What the hell?
That is new GT3 RS money, and I think that is a great buy for whoever bought that.
Listen, though, new GT3 RS gets you a 4-liter, and then everything else that's better. And yes,
I also smoked this car.
I will have the Porsche people banging down my door. But then again, the Porsche people that would defend the opinion I'm about to attack probably wouldn't be the ones that would carry a firearm. So I am ready for you.
Okay.
I don't give a rat's ass. You cannot tell in driving experience that a Metzger 997 motor is better than a 992 GT3 RS motor. When you are accelerating and driving the car, you don't notice. You don't know. It is just a collector's, which is fine. It's fine. Listen, I've driven a Porsche with a Metzger motor. His least popular motor in the 944 Turbo Cup. However, listen, guys, like, you don't sit there driving your 997 and as a 992 goes, oh, that 9000, you're not like, well, yeah, he's faster. Yeah, the car looks better, but mine's a Metzger, so I'm like, no.
I've never driven either, so I'm going to hold my opinions.
Nor have I, Ben, but here's the thing. What about the 997 Metzger motor that when you get into it and start, you're like, oh, this is actually a Metzger design motor as opposed to the architecture of the 992 GT3 RS? No. Nobody knows.
They just have a different character. Now, I bet people know. I bet real Porsche people know, unlike you, Nick.
I bet they
real
know.
Porsche people.
No. Listen, it's the Porsche people that say between a $400 bottle of wine and a $600 bottle of wine, they think there's a difference. It's not. It's just marketing, and they just mark it up. It's the same wine, okay?
Except they're built by very different people and designed totally different. Anyway, 96 Ferrari 512M sold for 391 grand. 2015 Aston Martin Lagonda, the sedan, the weird looking Lagonda thing.
Hell out of here, Ben. Why are we even talking about that?
For some reason, they're 400 grand still.
Who cares?
No one. I don't get it. It makes no sense. Okay, Nick. And then there were two cars, which I need you to look up. Because I'd never heard of any of them before. 1995 De Tomasa Guara Barchetta. Guara Barchetta.
I've seen these.
Pretty interesting.
What motor?
149 grand.
What motor?
I am looking right now. It has a 4-liter BMW V8 out of an M5.
Manual or auto?
Great question. It is... I don't know.
If it's a manual, I think that's a hell of a car. Hell of a deal.
Yeah.
One.
Let me see. What? They don't say. Why don't they say? Why would you not say?
Ben, what was the other car?
Oh, in the other car. I'm sorry. I need to. I'm sorry. Click. Going back. Sorry.
My computer's about to die.
Ital Design Aztec Barchetta.
That thing's hideous.
I think they're both super funky. I'd never heard of any of them, so I think they're both pretty neato.
All right, Ben, give me the outro. My computer's about to die, and I don't want to lose this recording.
Did you not bring your computer charger, Nick?
I'm using my phone charger, and it's not charging it faster than I'm losing battery because
Where's your laptop charger?
it's at work. Apparently, my laptop needs battery service at Apple, and I don't want to pay for that.
Well, I guess that's going to do it for episode 89 of The Clutch Dump. Like Nick said at the top of the show, make sure you go follow us on the socials at The Clutch Dump. If you're listening to this on any podcasting platform, make sure you follow us, leave a rating and review if you can. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, share the video, do all of the things. That's going to do it from us here. Stay tuned for episode 90, where we do our full review of the 2023 Formula One season. We will see you then.